The profession is getting to crisis point. No school can be better than its teachers. One of the few benefits to come out of the pandemic has been to prove beyond all doubt, as parents valiantly struggled with home tuition, but to prove beyond all doubt the importance of trained, experienced and professional classroom teachers. And yet, the profession is getting to crisis point. Even before the demands of teaching during lockdown, the number of teachers leaving the profession has increased year on year, and the numbers training to join the profession simply has not kept pace. Whilst many of those who do train, including many Teach First students, only seem to stay in the profession a couple of years. And this is at the same time as the number of pupils in our schools continues to grow. Sadly, the shortage will become even more pronounced over the next few years as the tens of thousands of teachers in their 50s look to retire. The Independent newspaper reported in January 2020 that now 1 in 20 teachers suffers from some form of mental health problems, up from only 1% in the 1990s, whilst a union leader stated excessive demands upon staff are creating a toxic working environment. Again, this was before the additional demands of teaching during the pandemic. But why is there a problem? Is it pay? Is it workload? Is it staff morale? Is it bureaucracy? Is it pupil behaviour? Is it a lack of respect? Is it a lack of public recognition? Is it Ofsted and external pressures? The answer is probably some or all. So what is to be done? Well, firstly, let's look at recruitment to the profession, though that of course is largely out of our hands. The Department for Education is already discussing raising the starting salary to about £30,000, and that may attract some to the profession. But once trained, we need teachers to stay in the profession, so pay progression needs to be fair and simple. The status of teachers needs to be raised to be on a par with that of doctors and nurses. The vast majority of teachers are hard-working and dedicated professionals. They are not uncooperative, militant troublemakers. And whilst the external observation and inspection of schools is essential to raise standards, Ofsted could be seen as being more professionally supportive, rather than as a stick with which to beat the profession. But the real questions for schools are, how do we recruit and keep good teachers in our schools? Sadly, sometimes how do we recruit and keep any teachers in our schools? With 2,500 secondary schools and 10 times that number of primary schools in England and Wales, teachers will vote with their feet. Why should a teacher work in your school? Why should a teacher stay in your school? Well, firstly, as mentioned, I think pay progression and appraisal policies need to be simple, fair and transparent. Teachers must not be made to jump through additional hoops to get pay progression. If staff are doing their job well, they should be rewarded. Equally, for those staff who do not do their jobs properly, then the appropriate action must be taken. Secondly, staff workload must be kept to an absolute minimum to enable staff to concentrate on the 3 essentials: preparation, delivery and assessment. Everything else is secondary. The good news is that Ofsted has at last now recognised this as an issue, and since 2019 the management of staff workload has been part of their judgment on a school's leadership and management. It's just unfortunate and slightly ironic that the latest 2 frameworks have probably created more paperwork than any previous framework, but at least it's a start. Thirdly, a strong behaviour policy needs to support teachers in maintaining the highest standards and enabling them to do their jobs properly. Not taking a strong line on rudeness, aggression, on defiance, not only prevents teachers from doing their jobs well, but it also gives the impression that they are neither valued nor valuable. Finally, schools need to protect and to respect their staff, not only protecting them from unruly pupils, but from difficult parents, from unnecessary paperwork, from excessive cover and duties, and to create a happy and cohesive working environment in which teachers are treated as professionals and with respect. They are, after all, a school's greatest asset. It was recently said to me that the difference between my style of headship and that of another was that I ran the school in the interests of the staff, whilst the other ran the school in the interests of the pupils. What a crass, naive and totally erroneous observation. Yes, I did always support the staff with difficult kids and aggressive parents. I did all I could to reduce their workload. But why? Because by empowering teachers to do their jobs properly, the pupils would be taught well and they would achieve. Supporting the staff to do their jobs well is running the school in the interests of the pupils. As I've said several times before in these videos, the key role of a head and of school leadership is to allow teachers to teach and pupils to learn.